Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first AuthorConnect Chat of 2019. I'm Michelle, the Chief of Staff at BookPal, and today I'm thrilled to be chatting with Adela Schicker, co-author of The End of Procrastination. Adela is the co-author of The End of Procrastination and the co-founder of Procrastination.com, an institute that helps companies and individuals reach their full potential. She speaks at conferences and hosts company trainings worldwide to help people stop procrastinating. To kick off this chat, Adela will begin with a presentation on her book, The End of Procrastination. Then we'll have a little chat. Feel free to submit any questions you have for Adela at any time during the webinar, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. Just remember that in case you need to jump off early, we do send out the recording to all attendees next week. And I think that's it. So Adela, I'll let you go ahead and kick it off.
Thank you so much. Well, you should have, I wish you had the chance to introduce yourself more, because we totally by coincidence managed to have those beautiful pictures without even seeing each other and taking them at the same time. So that's number one. But to say just a little bit more about me, that's something that I was just talking to the girls on the other side of the line, that if you love your job, you don't procrastinate. And I honestly love my job so much that even though I hate flying, I managed to pretty much get off my butt and fly all around the world to make conferences and do webinars. And so I would like to share with you one thing that I get asked after every New Year's, and that is, why should people not set goals even though all the gurus of self-motivation say that that's the best thing? So this is our book. I'm very happy that now it came in the US, and you can go to honestly any favorite bookstore you have across US and Canada, and you can buy your own copy. So if you like what you're going to hear today, read a little bit more into it. And everything that we do in procrastination.com is actually based on 3 very important values. One of them is that it's simple. So everything I'm going to say today is hopefully going to be very easy to understand and grasp, and it's going to be very useful. So it's going to be actually easy for you to put right into the practice and right into your everyday practice. So please don't procrastinate it. And everything that we talk about and all the workshops and even the book, everything that we do is science-based. So for example, in the book, there are 120 scientific studies that we had to read with my team and then transfer them into knowledge that you can use on an everyday basis. So what is procrastination? If you think of the Latin expression of leaving it for tomorrow, I all get that. But the best way how I can always explain it to everybody is that we all have things that people should do. We all have things that we want to do. And the worst thing that ends up at the end of the day is that actually we do things that we procrastinate with. So imagine you want to do sports and you want to change your life and you want to lose weight, but Netflix, and you're streaming and binge watching all the episodes that you can imagine. A lot of people see procrastination as well, like you have a lot of tasks and you have the time. And well, most of the time this is the solution. And so not only do we perform way less because we're postponing, but it actually makes us sad. A lot of people tell me that they work perfectly under pressure. Well, it's totally not true. Actually, even in school, if you manage to, pull in your B minuses, if you would have not procrastinated, you would ace it. So next time you're postponing something, think about, if you don't, you're actually going to be a little bit happier in the process. And so now to the idea of why New Year's resolutions are the worst thing that you can pretty much do for yourself and why you shouldn't. We have this vicious circle of you don't do anything. Okay. So you wake up in the morning and you feel like, I haven't done really anything. And that sort of leads us to feeling guilty. Of course, if we don't do anything, we feel guilty. There are very little amount of people that think doing, nothing is a good thing. And then that feeling of guilt and leads to doubting yourself. Well, if I haven't done that, I wouldn't possibly be able to do this and that. And that leads to feeling helpless. And you know what is the worst about vicious circles? Well, the fact that they're circles. They tend to repeat themselves, and you get into this awful, I do nothing, I feel guilty, I doubt myself, I feel helpless. And we all feel like, I'm going to put a New Year's resolution right there on the top, and I'm just going to start doing something, and it's going to work. And I don't know if it's a human nature, but we go big. We're not little step by step. We want to lose 10 kilos and run half a marathon or God knows what. We didn't just say, how about I have a little walk outside? No. Most of us, it just has to be a marathon. So pretty much what we do, a procrastination to me is this. We just sort of plan and then, oops, oh, okay, well, that was today. So the idea is that there are certain types of motivation that actually affect why procrastination takes such a big toll and why we procrastinate in general. And the idea is that there are three types of motivation. I think that the one that you guys know, I hope everybody knows, you must have been at some point succumb to it, is the extrinsic motivation, is the good old carrot and the stick. It works a lot at some office houses. It works a lot in some families, works a lot in some schools. And it's pretty much the idea, oh, you do it, you get a reward. You don't, you're going to get punished. Well, not only is this type of motivation only not working in the last time it was working properly was maybe in the good old times when, the guys, the slaves were rowing the boats and they were yelled at and whipped. But the problem is that during this type of motivation, you're feeling really helpless. You're surrounded by negativity. And the problem is that because there are certain things in your brain that are not releasing, you're actually losing creativity. So a lot of people now, especially in the corporates where everything has to be numbers, KPIs, OKRs, they think, okay, we give them more rewards or we'll give them more rules and people will perform better. But what they're not seeing is that actually this type of motivation kills the most important thing, and that is the creativity. You can't be creative. You're always under the stress. And when you get a reward, you know that the carrot and the stick is coming back because the carrot came at one point. And so please be careful not to have this type of motivation, and don't think, okay, I'm going to do 20 push-ups and then I can have one candy. The anytime you're a carrot and a sticking is just the worst. So then a lot of people, and I hear that especially with the New Year's resolution and a lot of modern coaches, they would say, okay, take the picture of the car that you want or the dress that you want or the model that you love and stick it on the fridge. And every day you're going to walk around and you're going to only think, oh yeah, this is my dream. I'm going to do it. And that's going to motivate you. So for somebody, this type of motivation is the car. For some of us girls, maybe it's a huge closet full of amazing clothes. But the problem is that our brain has this part here that's called the prefrontal cortex. It's a part of the brain that can visualize things. It's the one that makes us dream, and it's the one that thinks, okay, I'm not going to just get one dress. I'm going to get all the dresses or all the cars, or I'm going to be this skinny, or I'm going to take this vacation. And so what we do is that we think of this amazing goal, okay? That's something that we strive for. So imagine you make a timetable, you stick the model on the fridge, or you dream big. And so what happens is that you can see the positive thing at the end, but you're very negative. Until you sit in that fabulous car or live in that fabulous house, you're actually very sad because you're not having something that you dreamt of. And so what happens that when you finally manage to get this goal, something that you dreamt of, you're happy. But have you ever noticed how long you're happy for? Have you imagined how long were you celebrating for? Or when you get that one car you've dreamt all the time about, and then in a week later, it's just the transportation? This is something that happens with every goal. And it's something that's called the hedonic adaptation. It's pretty much anytime you're thinking about goals, anytime you're on the goal-based motivation, hedonic adaptation is going to come. And it doesn't matter if it's about things like graduation, or if it's an idea of bigger house or bigger car, it's always going to come in. The vision you've dreamt about is just going to become your house. The new cell phone, it just becomes a thing that you have and that you use for calling. And we sort of forget that the idea is that the money and the happiness have a very bizarre correlation with each other. There has been a great study done with people asking one group of people that had a big car crash and they ended up in a wheelchair, and another group of those people won a lottery. So imagine on one side people that their life was destroyed, and another group of people winning the lottery. They asked those people after a year how happy they are, and their happiness was almost equal. Okay, so imagine that the people that something happened to them, they actually managed to fight through life, managed to make something good out of their life. But the people who won the lottery, they just get used to all the materialistic things that they got. There is a certain point where money and happiness is just, the arrow doesn't go any further. You only have a certain amount of money that you need to keep yourself and your close ones happy, but then they don't bring happiness anymore. So be careful when somebody tells you that you should set goals and you should strive for them and reach for them, because the hedonic adaptation is going to always come up. And so then what happens is we become slowly addicted. This is the idea of always wanting the bigger, always wanting the better dress, or always wanting the newest iPhone, or always wanting something better and better. The idea is that when we're actually getting the goal, there is a certain release of chemicals in our brain. It brings this idea of joy. So we're like, oh yeah, I have a new iPhone. That's amazing. I love it. I saved all my money. But then, well, unless your screen cracks, it's just an iPhone, you know? And then you get a new one and you get a better one, or you get a cover, but you're always wanting more and more. And so what happens, this is almost the same chemicals when you're doing drugs like cocaine. People become addicted. They become, goal junkies. Those are the crazy people that jump from higher mountains and ski the steeper slopes. Those are the people that always want more and more. And so that is one of the most important things why you should not reach for goals, but why you should try to have a third type of motivation. And that is the intrinsic motivation bypass. It's pretty much, you can see it as happiness now. So nobody's really telling you what to do. There's no carrot and stick. You're not striving for longer and bigger and huger and more amazing goals, but you're trying to be happy now and content with what you have. I'm not saying that you should not reach further. You should always have certain milestones in your life. So think about them as a places of like a little landmark, a little milestone, little feedback moment. Am I reaching in my life where I want to go? But don't think about them as goals. The great thing about this, and we talk further about it in our book, is that you should create something called a personal vision. Personal vision is something that motivates you and actually helps you to see the better future, but not see it as a goal, but sort of see it as a path. So imagine your present self is really happy because you're doing something that, you decided for yourself. It's your vision, it's your life. You actually share the happiness because we know that happiness is contagious. And you know what are the steps that you need to do. There are some tools and practical tips that I would be very happy to share with you with the follow-up after the webinar, or you can go on our page or read the book and read further about them, how to create this something called a personal vision. But I strongly suggest that you think about, what are your values? What is the mission in life? What is something that you're looking for? Do you want to be a kind person? Do you want to spend more time with your family? What are the things you can improve? And try to think how to put that into practice with your personal life, with your work life, and just so something that you're happy with your own self. Imagine the idea that now that you don't have a goal in front of yourself, you don't have the carrot and the stick, you're actually happy in the process because you're not aiming for something in the end. The vision is not the goal. The vision is just sort of a path that you're walking. And what's the great thing about it, of course, is the happiness contagious. And the good thing as well is that the fact that you're going to be more surrounded with people that have the shared vision. I have colleagues, there may be 40 of us, we're all very different people. I don't think that if we would be in the same classroom, maybe we would be best friends. But because the vision that we have and why we're doing what we're doing is super important for us, we're always sort of happy around each other and we're trying to motivate each other. So there is a great Japanese proverb that says, vision without action is a dreaming. Action without vision is a nightmare. So there are two types of procrastinators. Those people who have all the vision, but they're not doing anything. And even worse, that there are people that are doing so much. Their diaries are full, their schedule is busy, but they have no vision. And that to me is even greater nightmare. And sometimes when I think of our clients, I don't know which one is worse. The idea of doing as much as you can for what you don't know what for, or the idea that you're just seeing your life slip away and there is no action. So the idea is to have your vision, to have your tasks and your actions aligned, and then feel the outcome, see the outcome. So of course, be happier, have the material outcomes, have everything that sort of clicks as a one big, guiding path. And again, it might sound a little bit hard to put into practice, but there are very easy steps to put that into your daily life. I strongly suggest to find a strength finder online, or to just write down a list of things that make you happy and then see how can I have more of that in my life. And the great thing is that When you're happy, you have more dopamine released in your brain. You're actually living longer. So all that is a great benefit. And I know that it's easier said than done. And a lot of people ask me how I can put that vision, something that motivates me in the long term, into practice. And I'm going to stay in Japan and I'm going to share with you this beautiful concept of ikigai. So when scientists try to discover where people live the longest, they discovered a beautiful island of Okinawa in Japan. And when they went there, even though they have the same healthcare, they have the sort of same place they live as in the U.S., equally safe. They asked them, "What is it? What makes you this happy and live longer?" And they say that it's something that is called the ikigai. And the ikigai can be something very similar to our personal vision. You want to make sure that your life is made from those four things. So do what you love. Really write down, what are the things that I love? What makes me really happy? What makes me passionate? Think about what you're good at. What are your strong skills? What is something that you can really put into practice, that you can improve in the long term as well? And of course, think about what you can get paid for, because it's great to do great things for others, but we all need to eat and we all need to provide for ourselves and our family. And then the last thing, and that's something that should always be something on your mind, and whatever you do in life, that should be a part of it, is think what the world needs. We call it Ego 2.0. Ego 1.0 is something that you do for yourself, your clothing, your food. But Ego 2.0 is something that you do for others, selflessly. So try to have all those things together, and trust me that this sort of mix can actually help you to find this personal vision, this motivation by path. And imagine that if you take a little bit of time, the start of the 2019, rather than putting models and cars on your fridge, but actually taking few minutes, grabbing a cup of coffee or a tea, sitting down, and with you and your loved ones, think about what is it that you love, that you're good at, that the world needs, that you can get paid for. The answer, the mix of all those things, are going to be the best and the most long-lasting motivation that you can imagine. And that's my little tip. I hope that it's something that you can put into practice and that can help. And now I'm very happy to for you to ask any questions. And just while you're asking them, I would like, we always do that with everybody on every workshop, try to write down one of the most important ideas that you've heard today, be it the idea of carrot and the stick, or be it the idea that you want to work on your personal vision or motivation. So while you're thinking of questions and we're going to be talking a little bit, try to write one of the most important ideas and stay in contact with me. And I will be very happy if you share them with me as well, or share them in the chat. And I'm going to give it to you, girls, for the question and answers.
Thank you so much, Adela. That was definitely a nice little preview into a lot of the topics that you discuss in the book. So if that piqued anybody's interest, I definitely recommend you check it out. So one of our attendees, Cassie, asked a question about personal vision. And so I guess the question with personal vision is, do you think that this is something that is evergreen, or is it something that you recommend revisiting and reviewing and seeing, if it would change through time? Because obviously, as we go down different paths in our life, perhaps our main focus and source of happiness would change. So kind of curious what you recommend.
I think that some of the core things stay. So I would think maybe your values, they stay the same, or they tend to change a little bit. But then other things, of course, change. For example, becoming a mother or having another person in your life, you get married, or you get older, you get grandchildren, or you came through a bad phase of your life. The vision is going to change a little bit, but I think that it's an evergreen in the way that it's something that you should always work on. We do something that we call the meeting with myself. So every 14 days, we actually have a little time where we take a cup of coffee. Or really thinking, is my vision still motivating me? Am I doing the good steps? What can I improve into the next 14 days or into the next month? And in that way, the vision is evergreen. It is always going to help you, and it's really a science-based and proved thing that helps the most with the motivation. But of course, it's going to get tweaked within time for sure.
Yeah, I think you said it's every 14 days to have the personal meeting. That's fun. I like that.
I'm trying at least 14 days. Take yourself out for a coffee or a drink or something and just think about like, is this my life? Can I improve something, or am I just proud of myself and I'm doing the steps that I promised myself?
Yeah, I love that. So one of the questions that I had was, I was curious, can you share a little bit more about where you guys came up with the concepts for this book and for procrastination.com and kind of how it all evolved into what it is now?
Sure. Well, I think that the idea came from the fact that we started, or the company started in the way that I think that the guys at the beginning were making web pages or something like that. And so the guys that started it, they were all a little bit geeky, but a very smart bunch of guys, and they were reading a lot of scientific research. And so when the client starts asking them, oh, why do you put this on the web page? Why this here? How does that work? So they were like, oh yeah, it's because this science-based fact says then this and this and this. And then they started thinking, oh my God, there are a lot of coaches, a lot of people giving advice based on your own personal point of view or your experiences. And there are not many, institutes and companies actually digging into science that we all have and that is valid and proven and putting it into practice. So Peter slowly started actually taking all the scientific research that we read, and I told you now it's around 40 of us, so we read a lot of books, a lot of scientific research, and he was thinking, okay, how can we draw little pictures so people can understand? So not all of us have to read the files and piles of books, and actually just read about it. And that's, I guess, the ideas of the three main values, the simplicity and the usefulness, came alongside with the idea of science-based, because we love that it's proven and that we're bringing something that we all know, but it's hard to get to. And then the idea that a lot of people tend to share ideas like TikTok, they're inspiring, they're elevating, but then you're missing the idea of, oh, okay, this is the step number one, I'm going to put into practice tomorrow. This is the step number two. If I fail, what do I do? So we just get to the point of slowly putting the know-how together, and we just thought of, hey, let's just say it as it is. Let's use science as a tool. And yeah, we slowly started speaking at the conferences, first in Europe and now in the US. And actually, I think that up to today, the book comes in 12 different languages, including Japanese and Dutch and now English. So it's slowly coming to really become a place where if you should get help in your life and you want to base it on science, what you call procrastination.com. And I just sounded like a Ghostbusters, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's a great URL to have. I love it. So, yeah, I also love that you guys have the diagrams in the book, because I do think it's unique. It's definitely, for those of you, well, you saw the cover in the presentation. It's a square book, and it's a lot more image based and thought based. And I think that that's kind of different from your typical, yeah, there you go, from your typical business book. So I was curious, who drew the graphics or came up with the graphics? Was that you guys, or did you just come up with the idea and have someone?
It was Peter, the first one, and then our graphic designers helped, and now I feel like all of us we're just using the base of it, and now we get each of us, because each of the consultants, each of us are more focusing on different things. So we do trainings on critical thinking, on sales and leadership. So we all focus on different, let's say, different parts and different courses. So we start drawing our things as well. But most of us, it has to be our graphic designers just saying, guys, like, this is okay, just keep it super simple. And yeah, I think that honestly, because our brains are such a visual thing, we need to just see it in front of ourselves. And I feel sometimes I just flip through the book, I see the pictures, and right ahead I can see why is this, how to put that into practice. And I really, really love that about what we do.
Yeah, I think the imagery is such a nice touch, especially for me when I'm reading. As I was going through, certain pages, and you get a little lost or distracted, and then I look back at the image and I'm like, oh, now I remember what we were talking about again, or what the writer was talking about. So I think that's a really unique aspect of your book. So you mentioned that the book is translated into 12 different languages, and I believe it sold over 100,000 copies worldwide, and was originally published in Czechoslovakia. Is that correct?
In Czech Republic, yes. In
Oh,
Czech
the Czech
Republic,
Republic, right? Because
yeah.
Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. Okay, yeah, good point.
Time ago, but don't worry about it. We're still pretty much neighbors.
So I was curious, from all of your, also from all of your coaching that you've done internationally, what did you find any nuances in your research and coaching among how different cultures approach procrastination?
Hmm. I'm trying to think. I just came from Asia, and I was telling my colleague about a workshop that I did in Singapore, and I thought everybody's going to be on top of their game, very effective. But I don't think you can put any people in the box. It's not that, oh, in Japan they would be more effective, and in Prague they would be more chill, and in the US they would procrastinate more. I think it really depends person to person. What I think is a sort of a difference that each country would react to a certain, in one country, people will be a lot into running. So it'll be normal for them to just say, hey, how about your new thing to do would be running. And the other ones are like, oh, we don't like running, we like biking. And so it's just little nuances. But honestly, all the countries, and been a lot that I did workshops in, nothing that I would say, oh, this country, they procrastinate the most. And honestly, even though we teach it, we procrastinate from time to time too. So don't worry.
Yeah, no, I think it's really unique because I think ultimately what it comes down to is this is something that everybody suffers from, no matter where you're born, what culture you're raised in. At the end of the day, we all have a lot to do, and we have to figure out how to get it done.
Yeah, and you know what? In every company, you would always, like, most of the time you would think, oh, the bosses are very efficient, and the managers are this and that. But everybody procrastinates, and I feel like sometimes we do workshops for huge companies, for international companies, and I still haven't found one person that would read the book and say, oh, I get nothing. Like, I knew all that. I'm just perfect. Everybody always says, you know what? I knew a little bits and pieces, but all this, I'm going to put that into practice. And yeah, that really, I guess that warms both mine and Peter's heart when we hear that even the person who I guess maybe even read all the books and researched, they can still just say, hey, like the way how you describe that, that's going to improve my life from now on. So.
Yeah, I definitely think it's simple and, and you've mentioned simple and useful or actionable as I see it. Because, you mentioned that what didn't exist already was a book that literally gave you next steps of what to do next and how to actually go about overcoming this versus just concepts. So there was a question from one of our attendees, Robin, who asked, what step would you say is the most important to end procrastination?
I would honestly say the idea of creating this vision of yours, or trying to just think about what are the values, why you're living the life that you're living. Because imagine that if you decide that one of your biggest values is family, you want to just be a good family person, then you're just going to think, oh, okay, well, I decided that for myself. That's my autonomy. That was my decision. Well, now I have to make steps. And if that's my love and passion, then that should be easier. Because I feel a lot of people, they're just having this idea of what they want to be, or what others want them to be, or what the society makes them be. And they don't think, okay, well, take a step back. Like, what is it? Which person do I want to be? What is my ikigai? And then when you have this motivation, then everything is easier. I'm not saying it's easy, because we all have to, file taxes and go through Excel sheets and wash dishes when we don't want to. But when you have this motivation, it makes it easier. It makes you sort of get up and really do it. And it makes you regret the time we have is the most valuable commodity there is in the world. Like, it's not money. You can always rent them. You can always get more, but time is the only thing that you have. And if you mix the idea of, oh, this is just the time that I have, and this is my vision, how can I procrastinate? Like, that's my life. So I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, I like that. To be able to tie meaning to it is really the first place to start, because how do you decide what to do first without any, when you don't have meaning behind what you're doing? So, and I also think that from my personal take on it is that once you have the personal vision, the habit list that you guys came up with, which is a tool that you can download on the website, is phenomenal. I think it's such a unique concept. And what I really liked about it is that you guys didn't just say, here's a list for how to track your habits, but what happens if you slip up? What happens if you're sick and you can't do it. And it kind of gives you all these different steps so that you can't convince yourself out of doing it, basically. And I think that that's so helpful, because otherwise, anybody's going to start this and they're going to give up, within a couple weeks. As soon as February rolls around, we're already over our New Year's resolutions, right? So that kind of, it gives you some tips and tools so that doesn't happen, so that you don't slip up. Yeah. And I think that's a really cool tool. So I would definitely recommend everybody check that out too.
For sure. And I get asked a lot, it's like, oh, are you going to teach us to stop procrastinating forever? I'm like, not really, but I'll teach you how to handle it in the long term. And so when it comes, you'll be able to just say, okay, this failed, let's do it again and better. And I think that's the biggest kick, honestly, that we all need.
Yeah. I mean, if you can solve procrastination completely, I think that you could be a very massively successful and game changer for the entire world. So, hey, I mean, if it ever happens, let me know and I will do whatever you say.
I hope not. That would put us out of business.
That's true. It might put the company out of business. So I had one question also, is that, do you think that your workspace, like your desk and your office space, and also even like how you organize your computer, does that impact whether or not, how much you procrastinate, and, or does that affect the decision paralysis that you talk about, where there's so much going on, it kind of challenges you to pick one thing?
Yeah, you said it exactly. It's the idea, the more things you have around yourself, the more of a decision paralysis, the more, oh, is it going to be option A, B, C, like what do I need? We become distracted so easily, and no wonder minimalism is now a huge thing going on. I've been minimalist for some time now. It's because I travel, so I only have one luggage, so you'll pretty much see me wearing a black sweater for a lot of times. I wash it, but I wear it all the time. But the idea of waking up in the morning, cleaning your desk, making sure that your desktop is just clear, and making sure that all you have to do is a list of your to-do, your things, what to do today, maybe a glass of water, a glass of coffee, or pen. You don't need anything more, because those things, then they become excuses, like, oh, I have to clean this, I have to reorganize this, or you open a desktop and there's like a bunch of things and you're like, oh, no. So you're exactly right. Keeping everything in order and having things simple and, let's say, visually pleasing will really help you to overcome this decision paralysis. Because a long time ago, people thought, oh, we're going to be so happy when we have it all. And now you go to the supermarket and there are like 70 types of ketchup, and you're like, I don't know, I just want a ketchup, And you have like, what am I going to do? The same thing happens on your desktop and your working space. So try to keep things very minimalistic and very organized in order to perform better and definitely procrastinate less.
Yeah. The reason that this idea stood out to me is because it's very timely, because the new Netflix show by Marie Kondo about tidying up came out. I don't know if you're familiar with that. She wrote the Life Changing Magic.
Yeah.
So everybody's talking about it. Everybody in the office, so many people in the office have watched it. And as I was, I haven't actually seen it, but hearing all the concepts that she talks about, I was like, this actually aligns with this book, and about how your environment can affect whether or not you procrastinate. And it's when you're not organized and you have too much around you, it can distract you and cause that decision process. So I was really kind of curious to get your take on that, seeing how the two actually aligned quite perfectly.
Yeah, I strongly suggest, if you want to binge watch, do it with Marie Kondo. We shared a video, I think it was last year around Christmas, about simplicity on our Facebook. We're trying to put little videos, short ones, 3 minutes, just to put all the concepts. And one of the books on minimalism we were quoting is actually her book, and she describes it perfectly. She really lives by it. It's not a pretentious thing, and it really helps. And honestly, a lot of people are always little surprised when I tell them that all my life can fit into 3-4 boxes. I really don't have more. I'm always on the move. So it's maybe when I have my own house and furniture, it's going to be different, but I really have a limited amount of things, and it made my life so much easier. And look at all those guys, Steve Jobs wearing exactly the same t-shirts, Mark Zuckerberg having the jeans and the gray top. You wake up in the morning, I have such a limited options, and then I don't have to think, oh, am I going to look cute? Is this going to match? No, like, how can I be a better person? How can I help somebody else? Those are the questions we should be asking more than, oh, am I going to wear that or this? Or, I'm opening a wardrobe and there's like tons of things, right in my face. And no, minimalism is perfect. And thank you for suggesting this TV show to our listeners. That's a great one. And the Japanese language is so cute.
Yeah, I think everything that we've discussed today in this webinar and what's kind of trending it's really going to be coming up a lot this year in 2019. And what a great way to kind of kick off your year, to kind of clear your mind and think about your priorities and look at how we can, tackle this year to better pursue our personal vision. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming and for speaking with us today, Adela. It was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, and just a reminder to everybody, all our attendees, we will be sending out a recording of the webinar next week, and you can visit our website at bkp.al/end of procrastination. If that's confusing, you can also just send us a message and we'll send you the link to purchase the book End of Procrastination for your organization, or you can just there it is. There's the link. Or you can send me an email at michelle@book-pal.com to learn more. And we hope you enjoyed the webinar, and thank you so much to everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, bye everyone.